Don't miss new episodes of So What Happened To, Saturday mornings on RatedEm.
Splitgate 2's beta just went live not too long ago, and after powering through the server issues, I got to experience what 1047 Games has been working on for the past few years. I originally thought that the development of a Splitgate 2 was utterly pointless, considering that the original game was fine enough, but after playing a bit of the sequel's beta, I can see why they wanted a do-over. Splitgate 2 is a different game that adds new features and makes some changes to old features, both of which could only be done by rebuilding the game from the ground up. I figured I'd make a video about Splitgate 2 since Splitgate 1 is responsible for one of the most popular videos on my channel. It would feel wrong to cover how the game burnt out and then not take a look at its rebirth. So in today's video, we are going to do a review of Splitgate 2. Yes, a game review on my channel in 2025. It is crazy. So to recap anyone who's unfamiliar, Splitgate is a multiplayer shooter that emulates the feeling of old Halo, but adds a Black Ops 3 style jetpack and the big selling point of the game, portals. You can place these portals on specific surfaces, use them to create new lines of sight, teleport across the map quickly, all sorts of stuff. They work exactly like the video game, Portal. Literally everybody and their mom has called this game Halo with portals. If you want to see a full video on the rise and fall of this indie shooter, check out its episode of So What Happened. It's a great deep dive into what made the game popular to begin with, as well as what caused it to lose its hype. What you need to know for this video is that the devs, 1047 Games, got $100 million in funding from various investors, and that the original game has not been updated for around 3 years. Despite 1047 letting everyone know, hey, we're working on a new project with this money and therefore won't be updating Splitgate, a lot of people thought they took the money and ran, and with the state of the gaming industry currently, that's not an outrageous theory to have. But 1047 recently defied this belief and dropped the open beta for Splitgate 2. Now I don't mean to immediately jump into a negative point this early into the video, but I feel like I can't talk about anything else without addressing the elephant in the room, server issues. On day 1, I had 2.6 hours logged on the game and played a total of 2 matches. One of them was an introductory match against bots, and the other one was an actual match against players. Prior to those 2 matches, as well as immediately after those 2 matches, the servers were down. Now a lot of people are gonna say, well, they're a small company. Don't hate on them for having server issues, quit being so tough on them. Listen pal, I got 2 arguments to make against this. First off, Splitgate 1 was notorious for having server issues, and with that instance, I'll let it slide. The game was fine before it blew up in popularity literally overnight, and the devs were not prepared for it. They literally thought the game was going to have like 1,000 people playing it at most. However, with the 3-year gap since then, you would have thought they'd know to improve server stability so that this doesn't happen again. It was a large problem at the beginning of Splitgate's life. Everyone was hearing about this awesome new game, but nobody could play it. Couldn't they have done some server stress testing beforehand to avoid the same problem happening again? Secondly, no, I'm done giving game devs who have more money than they know what to do with the benefit of the doubt. This shit happened with Diablo 4, Payday 3, Helldivers 2. These are all games that were developed with budgets just as big and had the exact same issue. I am tired of people normalizing buying or downloading a game on day 1 and then not being able to properly play it until a week later. I do not care how good the communication is between the dev and the player. Handing out a non-functional product is way too normalized nowadays. I am sick of it. Okay, rant over, let's talk about the game itself. To start off with the things that I do like, aiming feels a lot less rigid than it used to be. I feel like I could rely on the right stick to make small adjustments more than I could in the first game. In Splitgate 1, I was moving my character more than my camera to adjust my aim. In this one, I'm using that right stick way more. I did play the game on PC for a bit, which is where that 2.6 hours of waiting mostly came from, but I don't want to talk about aiming on PC because, to me, a majority of non-tactical shooters on mouse and keyboard feel the same. Especially with the game being compared so heavily to old Halo, which for the longest time was a controller-only game, I thought I'd mention how aiming feels on controller. To nail the comparison down, no, it doesn't feel like old Halo anymore, but it does feel better. It feels a lot more comfortable in my opinion. A lot of the other movement feels good. You can mantle and slide, and the jetpack feels fine. Any guns that don't have a scope do that Halo 4, Halo 5 zoom in thing, which I don't hate at all. I think with those games, it just zooms in rather than actually increasing your accuracy, and hell, that might be what actually happens. But in Splitgate 2, I'm pretty sure it does make your shots more accurate, as well as zooming in visually. Now, I want to discuss some drastic changes to the game. The first game was nothing more than an arena shooter. Again, very similar to old Halo or even Quake. Everyone had the same starting loadouts and new weapons could be found in the field. Those range from weapons like the DMR or the battle rifle, which were on par with the starting assault rifle, or heavier hitting power weapons such as the rocket launcher or sniper. Splitgate 2 keeps the battle for securing power weapons a thing, but the standard issue weapons are now unlockable and selectable through a Call of Duty-like class system. In fact, there's not just a COD-like class system, but there's now selectable heroes, each with their own abilities, but we'll get to that in a second. The class system lets you choose a primary weapon with 2 attachments as well as a secondary with 1 attachment. There's an equipment slot and 3 perks. Each of these selectable characters has differing weapons, equipment, and perks. Yes, it creates a variety in playstyles, but if Splitgate is wanting to maintain a competitive integrity similar to old arena shooters, this may not be the way to go. I don't hate it, but some people might. Put a pin on that idea, the idea of Splitgate and mirroring old arena shooters. We'll come back to that. So as I said earlier, yes, Splitgate is now a hero shooter, but it's actually not as bad as they could have made it. I like this. The shooter game market is oversaturated with hero shooters, from Fragpunk to Overwatch to R6 to Marvel Rivals to Apex Legends to Valorant to Deadlock to Strenova to Concord to Battlefield 2042, so I was hesitant with Splitgate 2 falling into that crowd. But Splitgate 2's hero shooter elements take a massive backseat and are not the main focus of the game. The main focus of the game is still getting kills and playing the objective, not are you good at your selected character and do you have good team composition. You can go an entire game without using your ability and be fine. I like that. I also want to talk about the portals thing. From what I remember in the original game, you had a button for one portal and a separate button for the other portal. In this game, by default, they are both mapped to one button. I don't like this, as it feels a lot more restrictive over the control you have on your portals. Is it a situational complaint? Sure, but the option of being able to decide which portal goes where can be helpful in those specific situations. I believe you can change it in the settings and remap them so that they each have their own button, but again, by default, it is one button. You are also not told that that setting exists. Also, there is no longer an anti-portal grenade. Instead, you have to sacrifice your own portal to close an enemy one. This, objectively, sucks. If I've got a portal A at one spot and portal B at another spot, and I notice that I can close an enemy portal, well, now I've got to sacrifice portal A, which is likely placed in a spot that I can't see right now. I have to sacrifice portal A because the singular portal button will shoot out portal A first and then portal B. So if both are placed and I shoot a portal to remove an enemy one, it's going to think I'm wanting to relocate portal A and therefore remove it from my very specific spot. This all sounds very situational and very specific, but this is a competitive shooter where strategies like this matter. You can't make a gameplay mechanic and then tell me to utilize it only at face value. Another thing that's actually related to the portals is the maps. The maps are fine, but when it comes to utilizing the portal mechanic on these maps, I do not find myself using the portals in creative ways, and some matches, I didn't even really use them at all. They're fine as like jetpack COD maps, but for maps that should be built around the main gimmick of being able to move around them quickly with portals, they don't do the best job. The art style and the character designs are fine. I actually really like the logo splash screen and the match loading screen. And as I just said, I really like these character designs. But the gun designs are really busy, and compared to some of the maps that have simplistic colors and geometry, these complicated guns sort of look out of place. I'm gonna list a few more things that I like, and then I'm gonna return to the arena shooter pin that I told you to hold earlier. And then I've got some objectively shitty things to complain about at the end that you'll likely agree with me on. The power weapons are fun. I like the rocket launcher and the sniper, and especially the baseball bat returning. And I also like the new Gauss rifle and the SMG that splits in half. The both are really cool. I also don't think I mentioned earlier, I don't hate that class system. I also don't hate the maps. They look amazing and they have a pretty good flow to them. Okay, the arena shooter thing, let's talk about it. With Splitgate now opting for customizable classes instead of standardized loadouts, selectable heroes with unique abilities, it all seems like it's actually straying away from the arena shooter identity and wanting to become more of its own thing. I am not upset with this at all, but it absolutely makes you look at the game from a different lens. I could sit here and be like, this is different and that is different and it all sucks, but I'm not going to. I actually don't hate a majority of the things in this game. If anything, the game is extremely comparable to Halo 4, which is a game with a multiplayer I actually really like. I do think the maps need more emphasis on portal placement. I do think that you need to be able to control exactly which portal you fire, but the laid-back hero mechanics in the class system really don't bother me. For those wanting a classic arena shooter game where everyone is on the same playing field until a power weapon is in their hands, I could see the distaste. But it really seems like Splitgate is trying to lean into its own lane, and I don't hate that at all. Okay, final rant. Alongside the server issues, the game had a battle pass, founders packs, and other shop items on day one. There's very little unlockable content. I understand that the game is free and that $10 million can't keep them afloat forever, but I just think it's an extremely poor taste to have these purchases available on the first day. Especially with these server issues, why not wait a week to make sure the game works, since they clearly didn't test it for themselves, and then add a shop. And if it's a beta, why not just make the battle pass free if it's only going to be a short beta period? The unlockable content to paid content ratio is also terrible. You can unlock gun charms and background plates for your character from maxing out a weapon's level, but there's no weapon camos or character costumes. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. These are two things that people want most. Are mastery cards and charms nice? Yes, but would you rather have a PNG that people will only look at momentarily, or a new, flashy character model that your opponents and teammates will see time and time again? Overall, Splitgate 2's gameplay is fine, and it's still very fun, but the changes made to its main gimmick, mainly the map's portal surface real estate and the lack of portal control, do bog it down. However, its new implementations and the way that they're handled, like the heroes and custom classes, in my opinion, benefit the game and keep it fresh without falling too hard into current trends. It manages to spice up its gameplay, worthy enough for a sequel, but doesn't become another brick in the wall. If you want a definitive answer of is the game good or not, yes, Splitgate 2 is fine. I would say it's worth checking out. The game is available on most platforms for free, so go download it. You got nothing to lose.